Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we wish to apologize for the short technical challenges we had experienced during that technical launch. For those of you that are just joining, my name is Duke Benjamin and I head the Nigerian Energy Support Program. Permit me now to call on Engineer Farouk, the Director of Renewable Energy and Rural Power Access at the Federal Ministry of Power, to join me on stage for the Q&A session. So while Engineer Farouk Yabo is going to the stage, once he's seated, we will start taking the questions that are on the back end that will be displayed to myself and him, and then we will start answering the questions. I can see Engineer Farouk is on stage now. Can we shortly test your microphone so that we can hear you very well?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can confirm hearing you. So we've not gotten any questions displayed from the back end. So for now, perhaps we can take questions as well from those that are on ground at the auditorium with you.
So if anyone has any questions,
name is Engineer Idowu, United Kingdom. I work in the system there. The question I would like to ask around credibility, sustainability, and robustness system. How is this very laudable? Going to ensure data I get right on the web. Sustainability of it, which going forward. All this. How robust will this be of encompassing entire Nigerian grid so that everyone should be very, very
yeah, Duke, you want us to take some more questions?
Yes, definitely we can take more questions so we aggregate them. You would have to repeat the question for me later from Mr. Idowu because I think I didn't hear him very clearly due to the connection. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think what Idowu was asking is about credibility, ability, data gathered, and of course the integrity of data, which all surrounds to the same.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think in the I'm sure Duke, who is very vast in this area, will also of Engineer Idowu. One of the biggest challenges of the ICT world is actually integrity and safety and security. Now, from the beginning of this program, it's been very, very made clear that we'll be using the highest security in terms of our ability to protect data. Of course, we are aware that even in our banking world today, entire banking powered or managed through ICT. So what that tells one is that there is actually a security, or there is a secured way of doing this kind of business. And what we've signed up with our partners is that the security of this data is going to be guaranteed. Having said that, in terms of the credibility of what data has been collected, the afternoon sessions we are going to run today is mainly designed to give comfort to the processes through which this particular data was collected, and also give some kind of guide as to the sustainability element, which is mainly to do with human capacity. One of the components of this program is actually capacity building. Just last 2 weeks, I had a training of over 30 people, I think more than 30 people in the hall, trying to get all the IT guys within the industry to be fully aware first. Added to this, you may be aware that already the Office of the Advisor has acted data security. Power happens to be one of those sides. That is termed as critical. That perspective. Parents is very strong policy under the overall umbrella of education. And so I'd like to assure you that the Ministry of Power is not very much next to. I believe in the afternoon I'll hand over to Duke to share more light. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Farouk, for already giving a very clear statement on the credibility and sustainability. I would like to just add on credibility that the data is hosted in a safe location. It is hosted with Microsoft Azure, which is a proven cloud infrastructure that is compliant to the data protection policies of Nigeria, Germany, and the European Union. And important is as well that it is scalable. Just for your information, the likes of Amazon Web Services and the entire GIZ data is equally already on Microsoft Azure. To sustainability. Yes, please. I am not hearing you very well. So sorry. Yes, no.
I was just trying to get more light in last question. Just to see that part of the argument of establishing requires that the partners have actually put a resident server in this building. Server already that is housing the data we have. Added to this data is also back in the Galaxy backbone site. Added to what Duke has said, are good to be very open to ideas because this is solving areas that we need aware of as we make progress. Thank you.
Yes, Engineer Farouk, thank you for mentioning that. So the Federal Ministry of Power will equally signal to us as soon as the information or the data can now be migrated to the Central Galaxy Backbone system of the federal government. So I was about saying something to sustainability. One aspect which Engineer Farouk has already explained is capacity development. In this regard, we are doing what we are calling mapathons and hackathons to sort of create competition between or within Nigeria, with Nigerian minds and tech-affine people, so that they will be able to build up capacity in order to sustainably continue working on this platform. In the afternoon session, I think we'll go more into details. Another thing that I would like to mention with regards to sustainability is, by the time we were discussing together with the Federal Ministry of Power where this platform or which kind of programs should be used for this platform. We clearly came to the conclusion that it has to be an open source program, which will, first of all, keep the costs low, and which will, secondly, as well, allow Nigeria, even by the time the Nigeria Energy Support Program with the financing of the EU and the German government are no longer there, be able to still sustainably keep the platform running, since it's an open source platform. So I can mention here that we are using OpenStreetMaps, and we are using a high resolution settlement layer from Columbia Creative Commons. I think those things are too technical details now to give here, but we have thought about the sustainability of this, and we hope that after all the information is gathered and made available to everyone, will be able to stay many decades for Nigeria. Thank you. Any other question?
Yes, we have some question here from someone. Please go ahead.
Very much. I would like to congratulate you on this initiative.
You mention
a
your name?
lot of.
Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Nurain Hassan. The point I was trying to make, highlight initiative, kind of follow up on earlier question about. I'm sure the team is found other see this as a comprehensive platform that can serve as a hub kind of for collecting data and showing transparency across segments of data. So sites into the set. Integrating with other systems available, that about generation statistics, issue of some of the challenges there, thinking down the line. This is still early days in the data, and need as a use this very platform together all the go-to side, all aspects of
Thank you very much, Dr. Nurain, for the question. Without, mining or preempting the afternoon session, I would like to agree with you totally that the real vision for this system is to be a kind of foundation, if you like, for the digital industry. And it's about actually integrating different systems, different components. Many people will be aware that as we speak today, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission is already deploying IoT meters actually to track service-based tariffs, which requires that tariffs will be based on improved service in terms of quality of number of qualities. This kind of platform, as we move ahead, the idea is to integrate all of this, and that is why it's more or less an API-enabled system. And we're already piloting it with digital mini-grid monitor, which essentially is able to track all the mini-grids across the country real time by way of reading on their APIs, showing what PV capacity is installed, what is the battery generating, what is the kilowatt hour apparent power. Everything about the system can be read real time. And like you rightly mentioned, the current biggest challenge the leadership of the ministry is working on is the alignment of the value chain and the inability of the sector to raise enough revenues to pay the entire value chain. Now, quick wins around solving this problem is deployment of technologies to be able to allow you to, in the first place, determine what are the actual right invoices. Because under the grid code and the metering code, there are conventions or there are requirements to be able to report on availability of generating units on hourly basis for you to be able to. But because of lack of ability to monitor, in many cases invoices are paid that may not necessarily be there. And so when you take on the distribution side as well, this issue of rejection of load, a dumping of load. So this kind of system are able to integrate and monitor the entire system and even connecting to the APIs. What kind of current is passing? What kind of load is being pulled, particular feeder, and what kind of hours of the day has that particular feeder been actually on? So what we are launching today is actually something that I would like to see as our sector. I believe this will be the first time something like this is happening around our region. I think it's so important that we give attention to our partners who have found it worthy to fund us, having identified this as something we for ourselves. I hope I answer your question. Question,
thank you very much, Engineer Farouk. I would like to note that we have quite some questions coming in online, so I would equally would like to take one of the questions online now, if you permit. So the first question is, when will the WebMall 36, the screenshot shows many states grayed out? As I see that Engineer Farouk is currently being asked a question there, I would like to answer that. So we aim to target to cover all the states within the next year. However, there are some challenges which we have or which we are facing in regards to collecting data in some states. But NESP Twitter handle will provide alerts and new updates when a new state is added. So like we said, the website itself will be giving you information. If you sign up to it, you would always know once we've added a new state. Engineer Farouk, do you want to add anything to that?
Luke, sorry, I missed that question, but I can see you have.
Yes, the question was when will the web map cover all 36 states? And I answered that we will be working on that continuously and hope to do that by next year. But definitely we are facing some challenges already with collection of data in some states. But we hope that with the support of the ministry as well, that we'll be able to get those data in due time.
Yes, I think this is a time to mention that we actually had planned for this bigger National Energy Summit sometimes in the first quarter of 2021. And we had hoped that before then we would have gathered data on the entire 36 states. Of course, the consultants have been just marvelous. If not for the COVID-19 pandemic and some security challenges in some parts of the country, I think we would have gone far. So by and large, before the end of next year, we believe we should be able to cover the entire 36 states and FCT. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go ahead and state, what is the mini grid coverage? That is, what percentage of all mini grid installed capacity in megawatt do you believe this tool reliably covers across Nigeria? Another question, secondly, is does this also cover commercial and industrial PV projects? So I would go ahead and start answering, Engineer Farouk, if you permit. Currently, we have a level of number of mini grids in Nigeria, but we've not uploaded all the data. So with the launch today, we believe more mini grid developers equally will sign into this and give us the data that is required for us to display. For now, there is no intention to put commercial and industrial PV projects on it. But once we have all the mini grids ready, we could reason into expanding to commercial and industrial PV projects as well. Engineer Farouk, over to you.
Yes, Dukes. Absolutely right. This particular launch is quite busy individuals, busy people with portfolios of projects, and will be populating this database. And I think it's quite compelling for any mini-grid owner to be able to okay, I'm sorry, I was saying that it's quite compelling for any mini-grid developer to want to join this particular platform. With this particular launch today, the ministry intends to send a call for an advert for people, mini-grid developers, to sign in and to register their mini-grid developers so that it will be also captured. This will naturally come with a lot of incentives going forward. We believe some of the current incentives the government is providing, including, for instance, under the Economic Sustainability Program, which aims to connect 5 million new connections by the next 12 months, should be incentivized through people who are willing, developers who are willing to actually key into this particular platform. So as we speak today, we don't have all the mini grids in the country, but this is what we look forward to start making sure are on from today.
In order to complement that, I would like to say that we've identified currently about 50 operational mini grid sites in Nigeria. 35 are already on this map or on the mini grid monitor. And we are aware of about 100 more sites that are currently under development. So we will endeavor to get all the data as soon as possible on the web map. The question, however, was asked by Ulime Ezekiel from Bloomberg. Engineer Farouk, do we want to take a question from the audience before I continue again from the online presence?
Thank you very much, sir. Let me join others to really congratulate you for this bold initiative. I don't know whether it is too early to ask this question, and it has to do with the fact that my name is Engineer Epo. I'm a renewable energy specialist. I don't know whether it's too early to ask this question. It has to do with the fact that even before now, you've been collaborating with a number of countries in the West African coast, and this data that you are working on help you show up what we are doing in the sector. I expect that even our neighbors in the around would want to share the data with you. I don't know why it is too early, but at some point you discover that whatever we're doing in the energy sector normally affects our neighbors in the way that we have.
Okay, so Duke, do you want to comment or can I go ahead and comment?
I think that's your question, actually.
Thank you.
I would allow you.
Absolutely, Engineer Ekpo. The ECOWAS region in particular has been working very, very closely together. In fact, we last year at the meeting of all ECOWAS directors of energy here in Abuja. It was a mini-grid launch, and they had the opportunity of visiting a number of the mini-grids that we built. Now, this is driven under the umbrella of ECOWAS Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Center, which is in Pariak in Kebat. And mostly, you find we share lessons across our countries. I believe as we speak, most of our neighbors are already connected to this particular launch session. I specifically spoke with the leadership of ECRI yesterday, and they've assured me that they are making sure that all the other focal points of people all around the ECOWAS region will be absolutely. The ECOWAS region is working together, and our CPOL hub or secretariat is at ECRI, whereas that of the continent is at the African Development Bank, supported by partners. So yes, you are absolutely right. This is something that is of great interest to ECOWAS region and indeed to the sub-Saharan African region, and we're exchanging lessons among ourselves. Thank you. We have another question here, Duke. Do you mind? Yes. Okay, we have somebody. Please introduce yourself and make, yeah.
Okay. My name is Engineer Demola Goro. I want to speak now as the chairman of NESIS review panel. Like Engineer Park naturally said, this is a very good initiative. But my worry really is in terms of the credibility of the data and the regulation that is backing up on everything that's been done. If by the end of this year, DISCOs are investing in critical infrastructure every day. So this data will continue to be changing. So I think we will be very happy to work with the ministry to put this thing one as well in the regulation, so that once this thing is done, then anybody that is doing any critical infrastructural development must be transparent. It must be a law that maybe through the necessary, like NEMSA or through any organs of the government, so that they will be forced to be increasing on this thing, so that because of the credibility, if you do it today, in the next 2 years, the data are not credible again. So we should make sure that and force people to register some of this data. Thank you.
Yes, Duke, may I respond to this question? A very interesting point. That is, I'm happy we have you, Engineer Goro, with us. Very, very important question. I just wanted to inform everyone that under the NEMSA Act, that is Nigerian Electricity Management Services Act of 2005, and under the subsisting regulations that were developed under CAP 106, it is a requirement of all utilities in Nigeria that before they connect or they extend any line, they must get certification of the regulatory and enforcement agencies. And so it is already a law in Nigeria for any distribution company to do that. I totally agree there are a lot of issues of enforcement, and I think that's why it's important that we have the Chief Electrical Inspector of the Federation with us today, with his technical team, who we hope we will be able to take ownership of this particular development, especially in terms of the grid data, the extension that will come in time. As we speak today, no line will be commissioned without them issuing a license of certification. And so it's so easy for us to be able to get information on new transformers, new extensions of lines, and then we can just integrate it into this web portal. So like the ministry leadership has always been saying, the issue of coordinating around the sector is so critical for us to move forward. And I believe that the private sector, particularly the DISCOs, have contributed immensely in coming up with the current data we have. So I think it's an issue that we need to discuss further, but I have a very clear picture that this is not going to be a major impediment, looking at the value that is going to be added to the entire sector with this kind of arrangement. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Farouk.
We have a question, Duke, if you don't mind. We have another question here. Sorry,
okay.
Please. Yeah.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Engineer Abdullahi Kasim. I am the Executive Director, Generation, NDPSC.
Please.
So I just have two comments, which is like a suggestion that I want to make. This is a very important initiative by the Ministry of Power, and I think it's long overdue. Why I'm saying this, there are two things I think that are very important here. Number one, sensitization, right? We're just launching this initiative today. We need to take it much further than where we are today. I can tell you we at NDPHC, we have more than 10 power plants. About 8 of them are up and running. And we already have a system in place which recorded, store all this data that we're talking about. We have real-time generation data networks that we store all this info. So what I'm trying to say, if we look into the value chain, there are a lot of other agencies or GENCOs, DISCOs that has these capabilities. So what we need to do is to quickly try to see how we can do an integration scheme of all this available data that we have at hand at today. So with that, we can also be able to look further and see how we can add to so many other features that we, just like what you presented, what you have on the website. I like it. There are a lot of information, a lot of data that is very useful. But what I'm suggesting, we already have a lot of these systems in place. If you go to all the power plants in Nigeria, I can tell you some of them, they have OSM, which is on-site monitoring system. Somebody's in Atlanta or in Switzerland is looking at the data real time. So it's just about how to integrate this network of data that we have so that it can, enhance this initiative. So that's my contribution and my suggestion.
Thank you very much, the Executive Director, Niger Delta Power Holding Company. Duke, I'm sure our audience must have had the suggestions, very compelling. We need to make sure we identify all sources of data across the entire sector and then have a way of integrating them. I think this is part of what we are looking forward to achieving with the Siemens Presidential Power Initiative program, especially at the point of integrating central meter data. And I think all of this should be able to come together somehow. So I really appreciate this point, and we will, in moving forward, try to see how do we integrate all the various data being gathered today. Back to you, Duke.
Thank you very much, Engineer Farouk. In the interest of time, I will try to take a few questions at once from the online participant. The first question is asked by Laurie, and it says, does total investment shown in the monitoring dashboard refer to private investment only or private and public investment? I would like to answer that immediately. The total investment is what is meant there. So it can be equity, it can be debt, or it can be grant, or all combined. So whatever you're seeing there is the combined total investment. Let me quickly take another question if you don't have any comment on that, Engineer Farouk.
Duke, I heard you mention a question from Wulenberg, Olume from Wulenberg. I haven't heard. Have you answered that question?
That was the first question we answered about the web map covering 36 states.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. The next question is asked by Johannes Holzgiel from Inensus. The question is, how will the data for the mini-grid monitor be updated? Will mini-grid developers be asked to periodically provide data, or does the platform have automatic access to data from the sites? Engineer Frank, do you want to go, or should I answer?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, the question is, yes, the developers will be asked to provide and update the data periodically. So the platform will now indicate to the developer and the program manager when data is updated or when data updates are needed as well. So at the same time, it is a vision to integrate further automation by collecting data actually from the smart meters and inverters automatically via APIs. So it will be something that will be supported by the Ministry of Power, that in the future, that when mini grids are built, that they should have APIs that will automatically play into this platform to give us almost real-time data, as the last speaker, the MD of the NDCPH had just mentioned. Engineer Farouk, you want to comment on that?
Yes, I do. I think one of the things that we're looking to achieve from this particular system is a kind of quality assurance framework enforcement. Normally in Nigeria, the mini-grid space is more or less very highly liberalized. That means that the developers engage directly with the locals in terms of developing their networks with very little regulatory controls. And this is to encourage investment. Now, it becomes important for the government to ensure the quality of service that is being delivered to these particular communities, both in terms of the reliability and the quality itself. Here I mean number of hours of service, the voltage, and so many other parameters. So yes, while we see the developers putting in data in terms of social and financial at their own discretion, we would be a situation whereby the regulatory authorities may consider ensuring that quality of service of mini-grids is also monitored for just purposes of ensuring compliance and the quality of service vis-a-vis tariffs. Thank you.
I'll ask another question. I'll take another question from the online participants before we check the audience again. The next question is, for monitoring, what information do you request from the market and from whom? Permit me to answer that quickly, because I think it was part of the technical launch from both of us. So on the mini-grid, for example, mini-grid monitor, we ask for technical data on system performance, we ask for financial data on the projects, and we ask for social data. So, I mean, financial data is clear revenues and tariffs, and social data is like direct or indirect employment or customer satisfaction, for example. Engineer Farouk, do you have anything to comment on that as well?
I think you have covered it, Duke, and I can see we have about a few minutes to go.
Exactly. So I think there are numerous questions that are still there, but I would hand over to you perhaps to take a last question from the audience if there is any.
Yes, we have one question here. He's been raising his hand. Oh, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Engineer Farouk. My name is Dr. Folabi Otitoji. I'm a senior sustainable energy expert working with the Ministry of Power and ECRI. I'd like to just say this is laudable, and I commend the ministry for the success so far. But I'd like to ride on the comment from the NDPHD, CN, and ED. Yeah, and trying to ask, is there any part of this project that is probably directed towards investment and decision making? And if not, I think it's with all the data we have, I think it would be nice to start thinking about that, to also have an element of it that will help an investor, for example, to be able to decide. So that can be, this tool can help to answer so many questions. So if we integrate an investment decision-making tool in this as well, that would be a lot helpful. And I don't know if it's something you've been thinking about so far. Thank you.
Okay, Duke, the question is, do we so far have any clear investment decision-making tools associated with this site? I can make I can provide some answers, and I would like you to also comment on this. And the answer is yes, because the mere fact that these systems allow you to select a community based on its proximity to the grid, based on its size, based on the number of houses there, gives you a very clear picture from the comfort of your office to know that, well, this is somewhere that I can actually go and invest with. So one of the biggest challenge of developers today, we receive letters in their hundreds almost every other day, requesting for guidance as to where do investors go to invest. And so with this particular database, we just give you the link. You go in, identify the states you want to invest, and then go down, send in the criteria, and then you can pick up whatever community. So to a large extent, that is a major part of the decision-making tool. Having said that, the NESP program is quite broad-based. When we designed this program back in 2013, it was meant to be covering quite a number of things. So the NESP, as we speak, has another program that is under unit number 3, enabling environment. And this is allowing how do we help private sector to take decisions or to do things in a simpler way. So we have this MOU with the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, which is to create a one-stop shop where, for instance, duty waivers, import-related issues, tax issues are dealt with in a inter-agency collaborative way. And there's a whole team under the NESP that is supporting this particular exercise. So truly the focus and intent of the NESP is to align the entire ecosystem, if you like, of investment within the sector, particularly the renewable energy efficiency, and the rural power access space. So I think, Duke, you can conclude this. Yes, and I've seen Duke, the executive director of the Rural Electrification Agency, is also have some questions to ask, if you don't mind. I know we're already running late.
Yes, I wouldn't mind. I would equally like to mention that the Rural Electrification Agency is part of that MOU between NIPC and the Federal Ministry of Power. It's a tripartite agreement, and they are contributing much to the same topic. I would just want to mention as well that NESP, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Power, is supporting renewable energy finance capacity development across all stakeholders, both for developers, both for banks, and so on. And the platform which has been mentioned, which is domesticated at the NIPC, is majorly a landing page for all investors who want to invest in the sector. So they will think about that platform gives them all the information that they require with regards to registration of companies in Nigeria. Who are the people, which agencies do you need to speak with in order to get licenses? Then when they want more market intelligence, information about the power sector and possibly potentials of locations, they come on this SE4All platform now to go, like Engineer Farouk had already said, directly to villages. When we did the technical launch, you could see you have already, before you go on site to do the final check, you have so much information about the buildings that are in a location, the productive users even. So those are the major things that you require for investment and planning. So I believe this tool altogether, or both platforms, give you a landing page to understand the sector and investment in the sector, and gives you clear market intelligence and potentials of locations where you can do investments. So I think with respect to time, I would hand back to you for the REA MD Ahmad to speak or ask his question.
Yes, it's actually the executive director, Mr. Wasaram.
Oh, it's executive. Oh, okay.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Engineer Mohamed Wasaram, Executive Director, Technical Services of the Rural Electrification Agency. This information is one of the greatest challenges we have in determining or planning rural electrification projects as to suitability of technology, vis-a-vis optimal utilization of available resources. Since these data are being collected remotely, why is it that still some states are not, or yet to have information on some? And also, how do you tackle the credibility problem of, the inherent O&M problems related with our capacities or operational institutions? You see now that you can, find a system working fine, and after a few, this thing goes off. So you see, even the data itself, in most cases, not consistent. So how do you actually tackle this, the credibility problem? And as well as, especially rural projects are concerned, several stakeholders are on it, because you see communities do rural electrification programs, states do, the federal do. How do you harmonize this so that the data at any point in time will be able to give you a credible information? Thank you.
So, Duke, the questions the ED asked are two questions. I don't know if you heard him. The first question is, why is it that we have not been able to cover the 36 states and FCT, looking at that we are also using satellite imageries to map these communities? So I can quickly answer that, and that is to say, for identification of clusters, we have actually identified the entire clusters across the country, which is roughly about 350,000. The ones that have been mapped is about 3,000 within the state. But don't forget, the grid data is not taken via the satellite. This is data that is taken because you need to go pole by pole to count and know exactly where these lines are. I hope I answered this question. The next question you asked is about the issue of data integrity and harmonization. I think we've spoken about this earlier, but I think the main issue for today is the issue of enforcement. Like I've said, the Nigerian regulatory environment requires that for any extension of any line by whoever, be it the federal government, the state government, the local government, or an individual, needs to be tested, certified before it's been committed or commissioned for use. Now, the depository of this data is with the Nigerian NEMSA, Nigerian Electricity Management Services Company, and the MD is here with us. We've just had some discussions around this, and we hope to work very closely together to ensure that every new line that is being built in this country, for it to be certified, it must be reported out for us to have it loaded into this website. And of course, if there are any individuals or groups or organizations that can support us in this, we are always very open to collaborate in ensuring the integrity of this particular system, particularly the Rural Education Agency, who has been an integral part of this process from the beginning. Thank you very much, Edie. Back to you, Duke.
Yes, thank you very much for answering the question. I don't think I have any information to add to that. While looking at the time, we've exhausted the Q&A session totally, and even eaten into some of our lunch time. So I would say, if you do not mind, we would close the Q&A session here and go to the next agenda point. And perhaps in the afternoon, when we still have some time, we can take up questions. People can still write into the chat and platform. If they are able to give us their email addresses, perhaps we can find time to address those questions as well. And Engineer Farouk, you are in the auditorium. Anybody that has questions can still ask you those questions physically while you are there. And perhaps or during the lunch, we have in the auditorium or in the online space, I think I will still be available as well during the lunchtime for people to have a chat with me and so on. So thank you, Engineer Farouk. I would now, Excellencies and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, invite the Honorable Minister of State for Power to give us a closing remark for this session before we go for lunch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Duke.